All right, we're going to get started. Welcome and thank you for your time today. We're really excited to be talking about the Medical Language Lab. It is an online learning program that comes with the medical terminology text you have adopted. So we really want to spend some time to make sure you're comfortable with it and to help you get started. I do have a few things just as we start out that I want to note. As we're going through and you have questions, if you could just type your questions into the Q&A box, that will help us be able to collect the questions and answer them. If for any reason that you don't have questions answered today, we will have information at the end so that you can continue the conversation and make sure that you get all your questions answered and receive the assistance that you need. So to put a face to the person speaking today, my name is Molly. I am the marketing manager for our medical terminology products. I do have Kevin Sullivan on the line with us today as well. He's going to help me manage with the Q&A and be able to work through that as well. And so what is today's program? I will give a brief overview of the Medical Language Lab, just to give you an idea of what we saw as the need and why we chose to develop this online program. And then we'll go into doing the live demonstration, some how to kind of be able to see how to set up create a class and do some customization. And then finally wrap up with the next steps for you to be able to implement the Medical Language Lab and feel comfortable using this powerful tool within your courses. So what is it? What we saw with Medical Language Lab or medical terminology was that students had a difficult time remembering, retaining. So Medical Language Lab, we actually applied the methodology of learning a foreign language and acquiring language acquisition skills, and we applied it to medical terminology. And what does that then mean for Medical Language Lab? It is progressive, the activities, and when we do some of the demo, we can show even more, get even more into this. It's multisensory. There are all types of activities that are going to engage students with all the different senses. It's collaborative, and that's something that I'll be able to explain a little bit more. We have discussion forums that allow for online collaboration, which is really important when students aren't able to meet face-to-face or interact face-to-face. And then it's, very importantly, easy to navigate. We've set it up to make it easy for the students to know exactly what their next assignment is, and also easy for you to get started with it, set up classes, and be able to then, once you have your settings, be able to continue with the same settings for each class. So why would you use it? It does come with your medical terminology text, but in addition, why would you implement it? It does fit a variety of classroom settings, whether you are doing a traditional where it is, you can make assignments with Medical Language Lab. Online, it makes a lot of sense because it is an online learning program. And some of our Medical Language Lab products actually include lecture videos, which make it nice if you are teaching with the flipped classroom. And this is really important because this is what I was talking about as far as using those foreign language acquisition methodology here. It's really helping students go beyond memorization and learn the language of medicine. And as I already said, it's included with your text. And we are here to provide support to help you and your students get started. We have documentation as well as spending time today to show you how to get started and including follow-up after that. So with that said, I'm going to just pop over to the actual application so that I can start showing you. All right, so now you can see that we are at the login screen for Medical Language Lab. I'm going to start by logging into the student side because I think it's important for you to see what your students are going to see. So just a moment while we log in. All right, so what you're seeing now, and you'll see this for yourself as well, this is the dashboard, but in this case it's a student dashboard. So one of the things about being easy to navigate is that this is the central area. When you or your students log in, you have a dashboard. Most students are only going to have one book. I, of course, being someone who gives these demos, I have a couple different books. But you can see there's an area here for students to insert an access code or buy one, and also insert the class ID, which is important for connecting students to your course. And we can show that a little bit more on the instructor side, but this is where a student is able to enter that number. It's very easy. So imagine for most students they would just have one text. This is the medical terminology simplified. They can jump right to the next due assignment. They can jump right to their gradebook from here. But I'm going to go ahead and enter into the general listing of lessons. And what you're seeing here then is your student view. Students, very similar to what you end up getting to see on the gradebook, they have here's like the very high level kind of gradebook view that they're getting here. Very quickly, I can see progress that I've made on the lessons, and I can even click into some of this, like the details here. This takes me to the student gradebook. It's really important to see that your students are seeing what you're seeing when it comes to the gradebook. They can see that you are going to see that how much time has been spent in each one of the lessons. And you can also drill down even more into this from here. So view details for integumentary system. And now you can see specific scores for each exercise. So your students are never in the dark. They know exactly. They even also have this compare with class, which you have. And I can see how I'm doing compared to the rest of my class. Now, if I jump back to the dashboard and enter again, there's one other thing I want to show you. If you assign a pretest, you have an option to give students a study plan. So this is my study plan. I clicked right into it, and as a student, then I can see, okay, I really did well on the pretest for the introduction, but by the time I was into the integumentary system, I need to really stop and focus on that area. So they have access to the study plan that's generated from the pretest, but wanted to give you a view of that before we went into anything else. And that said, as I move back, I'm going to move us over to the instructor side, and as I do that, do we have any questions from the Q&A? Let me make sure that Kevin is unmuted. Are you on the line with us, Kevin? Hold on. All right, let's see. Let me try. Just trying to make sure I have them unmuted. So, Kevin, are you on the line there?
Here. Can you hear me now? Hello.
Yes, I can
Hello?
hear you now.
Sorry, yes.
Yes.
We do have a question, and it's regarding the students' access to the product. You showed the student side of Medical Language Lab, and the question is how does my student gain access to the product? So do they simply go to the site, or are there other tools that we provide them that get them right here to actually log in?
That's great, yes. So for students, the way that they get access is that if they purchase a new textbook, there will be an access code on the inside front cover that will give them access. Now, if they are purchasing a used book or you're using one of our completely online products of Medical Language Lab, they would then be able to purchase it through our website, through Medical Language Lab. They can purchase access that way. So yes, very easy for students to get access as well. And I'm going to go ahead and log in then as an instructor. Do we have any other questions for students?
Molly, I don't see any others in our Q&A at this time.
Okay.
And I'll try to let you know if I see any along the way.
All right, great. Then I'll just keep moving along. So I now have logged in on the instructor side. So this is more along the lines of what perhaps your view would look like. Now you're seeing there's things like a create a class button. But again, the idea being that you have this central dashboard, it makes it very easy to navigate. I do have a lot of classes attached to mine and a lot of different products, so you're not likely to have as many. But as we get into this, one of the things that I want to definitely start with is how easy and quick it is for you to create a class. First of all, you'll see which product which textbook you've adopted, should be here. And you can just click this button that says Create Class. And then it's as easy as you enter the class title. Description is even optional. You enter a start and end date. We have a couple things here. If you would like to auto-enroll students, the way the system is currently set up is a student would enter the class ID, and then you would actually have to approve them one by one. So this is an option that allows you, if you check it, that then if a student enters your class ID, they are automatically enrolled and you don't have to approve all of those enrollments. So then we also have auto import grades. So as soon as a student signs up, if they have not entered a class ID yet, they can start on activities. So if you think that you may have students that that have completed things or might complete activities and you want to make sure those grades get counted and get ported over, then you can check that auto import grades. So that said, right here is your class ID. This is that number I was saying that students need to have to be able to join your class, something that you probably want to put on the syllabus, and it's listed here. And then when you hit save and continue, it's listed here as well, and it's also emailed to you. And it's also on your dashboard, so you never can lose this class ID. It's pretty important, and we know that. Now, if you wanted to just create a class and have students enrolled and not touch it at all in any other way, this could be it. You have a class created. But if you want to customize it, then instead of returning to the dashboard, we'll go ahead and go into the class management wizard and look at how you can customize it. So right here, this is the pretest settings. This is what I was talking about, that you can assign a pretest. You can choose not to assign it at all. You can select areas that you don't want included. You can choose whether or not to have the questions randomized. And then, of course, deciding on your due date, which will say we want to have people take it by Monday. And this is that checkbox I was talking about where if you want to have that study plan generated for your students, it's automatically checked already, but if for any reason you didn't want to have the study plan, that's where you would uncheck. So it's that simple that you can then just say, all right, I'm happy with my pretest settings. I'm going to save and continue, and I can go on to lesson settings. So one of the things that's really nice is I'm going to pop back out to the dashboard just so you can see, all right, I I was working on my class, but I needed to do something else. So one of the things that makes this kind of nice is that you can go back out and you can always, at your dashboard, get back in through Edit Class Details, and it takes you back to this Class Management Wizard. And then you can follow these breadcrumbs to go where you left off. So we left off at Lesson Settings. Let me go there. I'm just going to start with that first introduction, but you can see from the drop-down menu, you can select any of your lessons. And then what you have here for each lesson is the start and the due date. And I'm going to point out here, this is the universal start and due date for all the activities within this lesson. So actually, we're going to have them start this after they do their pretest. And we'll let it be available for that week. And then we have grading rules as well. If you want to have your students be graded always on their first attempt for every activity in this lesson, you would select that grade on first attempt. If you wanted to allow them the opportunity to practice and then decide when they feel comfortable submitting for a grade, then that is where the initial practice then grade is why you choose that. Also, we have these generation exercises, which I can show you a little bit more about, that are allowing students to write medical language and also speak medical language through recordings. And this is where it comes in that it's collaborative, because you can set your generation exercises as a group assignment. You can generate small groups within your class, and then it allows through a discussion forum, it will post those generation exercises to the discussion forum, and then the students within their small groups can comment and give each other feedback on each other's generation exercises. It's kind of nice because the generation exercises are something that you have to manually grade. Everything else is graded automatically, but since these are more subjective with the actual free writing and audio recording, then it does have to be graded by you. So it's a double thing where students are working on this together and having that collaboration, but also saves you a little bit of time because you can just really consider through those small group that small group discussion boards. So as you can see, I assigned those start dates and due dates at the top, and it's populating down here. Actually, this one I didn't, but it should be populating down near the 12-14. Sorry, it didn't totally update for that, but and we can change these now if we want. But first, also let me show you. If you're trying to say, I'm not sure what these exercises are and I want to see more about them. So you can click on any one of these exercises. It's going to take you to a new window a new tab will pop up, and you can listen to this exercise. It's probably not really something that we can hear very well, sort of in the background, but you can listen to it, you can continue to the questions and see what the questions are. Oops, I'm just going through here very quickly because then, and this is also the student experience, because then you can also see, oh look, okay, here's what it looks like, the feedback the students get. You know, it just isn't helpful. For one, you can see what the students are seeing, and as you're selecting those exercises. Some way, because instead of me showing you an actual student account, these are ways that you can actually see what your students are seeing and be able to select the exercises that you want. So in this case, maybe I decided exercise 2, I didn't want that. And on exercise 3, maybe I decide that I give them a little bit more time. They can come back in have that one to December 21st. And I'm going to change the grading rules here because that's the third exercise so that they can grade. I want that one graded on first attempt so that we treat more like exercise 1 is the practice, then grade, and this one on grade first attempt. This is just to give you an idea of all the ways that you can customize a lesson. And then you can go in and you have the response exercises that you can customize things for, and these generation exercises. And as you can see here, they already have the group assignment box checked because it was checked up at the top. And then we have a whole slew of practice exercises. So this is also, we were talking about multisensory. You get a sense from seeing this. There's the audio. They have the opportunity with the generation to actually be typing out and speaking their own medical language. And then, of course, with all these practice activities, there's different things with build medical words, and they have flashcards, spell it, and we even have some labeling activities that really allow students to be engaged in all the different senses. So I'm done customizing this lesson. I'm going to continue to the next lesson, and you could get as granular as you want, and just to show you, but we're going to keep moving along, and we do have these post-test settings. So this is kind of a final comprehensive test that you can include, and it's exactly like the pre-test as far as, you know, whether you can just check to not include it, different areas, whether or not to randomize, and the due date. So that is everything that you could do as far as customizing a class. And so what I want to also show you here is that on this dashboard, we'll go back to the one that's mine, so I forget forgive the scrolling. We have this clone class. So after you've spent some time, if you have multiple sections, and even in the next semester, it would save you some time if you've selected things, the activities that you wanted and already reviewed them, to be able to clone the class. You know, it's really meant to so that when you have your settings, you can feel a lot more comfortable with that as well. One other thing I'm going to point out here, since we're here, is along the way when you're doing some of the setup, if you have questions, you may be able to find your quick answer from these little question marks. They're very kind of simple little help guides. And before we're done, I will also show you our support area here, because we really do want to make sure you feel comfortable and you have all the tools you need. But now I'm going to actually go into the grade book, but I'm going to go back up here to a demo class, not the class I created, because this one is our demo that has fake students populated into it. So this is what your grade book screen looks like. Come down here, and one of the things I was showing you that students have is the compare, but this is actually something you've got even a nice compare with all classes that you can look at how the class compares across our medical language lab classes, which of course my computer's being a little slow today. I'd love to show that image, but don't want to slow us down too much. So yeah, we'll have to forgive. I'll show the compare like we had shown before, but as we move down here, you can see we have a number of students. Of course, these would be your actual student names, and like I said, we have done this for demo purposes, but again, here, it looks very similar to what your students see for their grade book. It's just that you now have everyone. So you can get in here, you can compare an individual student like I was doing before against the whole class, and then you can also drill down into the details of this grade book. So now I'm looking at this particular student's grades for each lesson, and that's the whole lesson for all the activities. I can see the status of whether they've started or not, how much time has been spent. So I'm going to look at one of these completed. Let's look at the cardiovascular system. And now here is where I can see exercise by exercise how the student has done. And one of the things that I want to note is that here on the final scores for this screen where it shows you each exercise is where you're able to override and let's say, okay, you know, this student retook it and got a perfect score, and I decided to go ahead and let them get that perfect score to save it that way. So then I can go in and say, all right, I changed it to 100, and I can save the final scores. So it's just allowing you to have a little bit more flexibility to be able to change the scores as you need, just depending on the situation. So with that said about showing the grade book, I'll go back to Kevin and ask about what questions we might be getting.
Yeah, hi Molly, can you hear me now?
I can.
Okay, great. Quick question from an instructor regarding start and end dates for the activities. Are we able to customize those start and end dates? And if not, does it default to any certain start or end dates?
So it will default to the start date of when you create the class. Is kind of what you were seeing with mine was defaulting to the 12/9. Let me go into the edit class details again so that we can take a look at this and be more specifically. If you do not, let's go into one I haven't changed. If you do not set a due date for a final due date for the assignments, then that would be then just, they're like practice, it's like a practice class, but you could still see how much time students spent. But you can change the dates. I can change the start date to whatever I want for the second lesson, and then I can change the end date here too. So you can change that for you can go into each lesson and change your start date and your due date for the assignments, and including making that the granular kind of changes to the start and end date in here as well. So.
Okay, that covers that, Molly. Thanks. And this question has just gotten more specific. I'm answering in real time now. Do you know the actual time of those dates? Is that a midnight date? Is that a noon Eastern time? Do you happen to know that?
It's right now, currently, it's an Eastern time, and so it's kind of a 12:01 a.m. Eastern time. So yes, and if that's that's something that we're currently kind of looking at with the different time zones. But currently, it is the 12:01 a.m. Eastern.
Right, and I've heard that question before, and my understanding then, in addition, like you mentioned, I think instructors do have the ability to allow for students' grades to come in after a specific due date should they feel the need to do that. Is that right?
Yes, and that's where that kind of the ability to override grades makes that a little bit that they can do things like that with an individual student, that if they missed the date, the way you would do that is actually use that override grades in the grade book with the boxes for each activity.
Perfect. Not that we're in the business of encouraging overriding grades after a due date or anything like that. All right, now another question has come up. What capability is there, if any, for instructors to only include certain lessons from a particular title?
Yes, absolutely. Things are a little bit different here because we are implementing a new an upgrade to this that's actually going into effect this month. That's going to allow you to very easily, there'll be a step kind of between 2 and 3, between the pretest settings and the lesson settings, that it will allow you to more easily select and rearrange the lessons. Right now, what you get in this drop-down menu are the lessons that are in the order they are in the book that you have. So the chapters, these lessons correspond to the chapters in your book. And the current way that we would do this is if I didn't want to include this particular lesson, I would have to uncheck all of the boxes. But we listened to you guys and realized that that was not the most efficient way. So you will, starting, if you're doing this, starting in January, it'll already have gone live later this month, you will actually have the opportunity to very easily, with kind of a drag and drop type of thing, decide what lessons that you want and what order you want them in. And just an easier way to customize that.
Oh, that sounds interesting. So I'm thinking that it might also be helpful if we make sure that any folks who are on the line who have that interest, that they have a course maybe that doesn't go a full 15-week semester, they have a small, more modular type course, something like that, they could easily reach out to F.A. Davis, either to you, Molly, directly, or to our MLL support, and perhaps get a little more focus on that feature. We have a couple folks in-house who could help folks make sure their courses are set up properly in advance of any January starts. Is that safe to say?
Oh, yes, absolutely. We're here to help, and actually while you're saying that, I do want to just show something to make it even easier. If you look in this drop-down menu at the top, you can jump right to the Support Center, and we have a lot of resources here. So in addition to what Kevin was saying is that we have resources here in-house and we want you to reach out to us and we are here to help you. Also, it may be a timing issue and you may find the answers that you need in our support center here. We've got some videos, some documentation, and of course how to contact our support. And as we add some of these new features and upgrade it and make improvements to the product, we definitely will be updating our documentation as well. So yes, we are here to help.
Okay, great. And one last question has come up regarding, again, how students can attach themselves to a particular instructor's course. How does that instructor know that students have either joined their course or requested to join their course?
Okay, so let me actually head back to the dashboard. So here we are at the dashboard. I'm going to go into this class that has some students in it. Actually, so we can go into the gradebook. One of the things that you see here in your instructor class gradebook, it's going to show you, actually I don't really have that option. Hold on, because I don't have any students pending. But here, so we have the managed students, which I could have gotten to from the gradebook. But this managed students section actually shows you all the students that have been enrolled. Now, if you want to have more control over that, you can give students the class ID that, again, let me go back to the dashboard. Here's your class sorry, not for that one because it's a demo. So for the one I made earlier, here's this class ID for the class I just created today. So you would provide that to your students, and then if you wanted to have more control, you could also require that you have to check in here in the managed students and approve every student that's enrolled. Or you can just have them auto-enroll. But at any point in time, if you set it up, as I was saying in the very beginning, if you select that checkbox when you're creating class to auto-enroll students, then they would enter that class ID and you wouldn't have to do anything. You will be able to see your students that are here. This is a terrible example. Let me do the demo again. You'll be able to see your students are here. So they should have their email and the student name, and you'll be able to make any edits that way as well. Was that our last question, or do we have any more?
No, that is the last question. And I do have, well, actually, just as I say that, a couple of questions are trickling in here. Folks are getting more and more courageous as the call goes on. This is a question regarding documentation of some of these steps and questions. Or steps and answers to the questions, I guess. You had mentioned the support center. Will some of that stuff be located there? Is there documentation there as well as videos? Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
So, sorry, let me go back to the support center. And by the way, this support center is the same for it says for instructors here. So when you go into a student account, and it says for students. So when you click into these things like the videos, it's specific to an instructor or it's specific to the student experience. So here you see we have all these videos for how you do each of these things. If I go back to the getting started, this is where now we have some of the documentation, the instructor's manual, and there's a student manual that you can provide to your students as well. We give you everything you could possibly need. And then, like I said, if you go in here, this has also additional just how you can contact us. But also being on the line today, we're going to follow up with people today. And actually, I can even, if I flip back over to PowerPoint, as I was saying, these types of things. But here you can see we can be contacted with additional questions or, at any point in time, whether it's support or our customer service that's going to help you or someone else internally. We do have resources here to make sure if you need additional assistance, where one-on-one, we do have that kind of assistance in helping you get started. And did we have one more, or are we nearing the end?
Yeah, we're nearing the end. This is the last question, and then after this we can take some questions, offline. We know who has attended, and we can easily reach out directly, or folks can feel free to send emails to those emails that are there on the screen right now. Molly, this is a general question just regarding the overall stability of, I guess, this product and any F.A. Davis product. Can you tell us how much, if any, downtime or hiccups that students might expect or instructors might expect in using a product like this with F.A. Davis?
Well, and Kevin, you can probably answer that as well as I can, but I will say we are constantly taking your feedback and trying to make improvements to Medical Language Lab and make it as easy to use and make it an extremely powerful tool to use. That said, we don't want to do anything to impact courses that are in process. So we really look at the times of year or timing to make it have the most minimal impact when we do those kind of upgrades and updates. For example, I was saying we have quite a few kind of updates coming later this month, knowing that that kind of later in December time period is not going to create issues or impact should we have any kind of issues. But it is technology, and I will be honest that we do take that into consideration when we're doing these things, doing these upgrades.
Right. Good answer. And I'll just follow that to say that, as a provider of software services, we aim for, what we call 4 nines uptime. 99.99% of the time we have a product that is up and running. I can think of maybe one time in the last 2 years, and that had to do with a hurricane on the East Coast when our Medical Language Lab product was down for an hour, and immediately when we do that, we post up a notification to any user saying when the resource will be able to get back up. So anyway, that's just some of the things that students and instructors can expect from this and other products like it. So. Okay, I think that is it for the questions today, and we will wrap it up here. And Molly, you can close us down.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for your time today, and please just know that this is just the beginning of getting you started with Medical Language Lab. It really is important to us that you are able to use this powerful resource that comes with your medical terminology text. So please, we will be sending some follow-up to make sure that you do have that instructor guide and the student guide, but do not hesitate to reach out to us with any of your questions as well. And thank you for your time today. Goodbye.